Hello, my name is Taylor Groulx, and over the summer of 2020, I worked as a summer student in Dr. Catherine LaBelle's research lab. My summer research project focused on the relationship between exercise and psychological well-being during pregnancy in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic. When the COVID-19 pandemic hit, it seemed like the world froze. Many people lost their jobs or their business, educations were put on hold, and we were asked to isolate within our own homes with limited physical contact to anyone not in the same household. It can be difficult to imagine how stressful it might have been to be pregnant during this time. For many people, getting outside and exercising became a great way to remain distanced from others while taking care of oneself and controlling what can be controlled during these uncertain times. The aim of our study was to determine if pregnant individuals who exercised more during the pandemic had different mental health scores from those who exercised less. Evidence suggests that anywhere from 5 to 37% of pregnant individuals may experience symptoms of depression or anxiety. These experiences may stem from the extra physical and emotional stress that comes with being pregnant and could have detrimental effects on the outcome of the pregnancy. Psychological distress during pregnancy has been associated with preterm birth, low birth weights, and low satisfaction of the experience overall. Physical activity, on the other hand, has been associated with a myriad of benefits in pregnant individuals as well as in the general population. Regular physical activity improves both physical and psychological functioning, increasing brain volume and maintaining neural plasticity. In studies focusing on the treatment of psychological disorders such as depression and anxiety, physical activity has even been suggested to be just as effective as pharmacological treatment in improving mental health and well-being. For this study, data from 5,401 participants was analyzed, all of them pregnant individuals who resided in Canada and were at least 35 weeks gestation. These participants had already completed the pregnancy during the pandemic survey, and the relevant exercise and mental health data was extracted for analysis. Depression was scored along the Edinburgh Depression Scale. While the Edinburgh Depression Scale itself is not a diagnostic tool, scores of 13 or greater have been associated with clinical diagnoses of depressive disorders. The PROMIS Anxiety Scale was used for anxiety scores, with a score of 60 or greater associated with clinically elevated levels of anxiety. We also used a pregnancy-related anxiety questionnaire to assess anxiety as it pertained to pregnancy-specific topics, with a score of 17 or greater indicating an elevated level of anxiety. Physical activity for each participant was quantified by adding up the self-reported totals of moderate and strenuous physical activity per week and multiplying them by an intensity factor to generate a Good-Day Shepherd score. After computing our statistical analyses, it was evident that the anxiety and depression scores were significantly above normal values, with 33% of participants reaching the cutoff for depression, almost 50% reaching the cutoff for general anxiety, and a whopping 93% reaching the cutoff for pregnancy-related anxiety. It was also discovered that a statistically significant relationship existed between total amount of weekly exercise and reductions in each of these three measures of psychological distress. The model was then expanded to divide the participants into two groups: those who reached the Canadian Guideline for physical activity during pregnancy and those who did not. The Canadian Guideline is currently 150 minutes of moderate to strenuous physical activity per week. And with that as a threshold, our statistical model suggested that no difference existed between the two groups for any of the three measures of psychological distress. The results of this study suggest that engaging in physical activity may be an effective strategy to reduce psychological distress in pregnant individuals during the COVID-19 pandemic. While the relationships between exercise and each of the three measures of mental health are small, they may help to mitigate the initial levels of increased stress that come with the onset of such an uncertain and frightening time. This study is only a snapshot in time, however, and more research should be conducted to expand on this association over a longer time frame. In conclusion, physical activity is an effective strategy to improve markers of psychological distress in pregnant individuals, and while the improvements in this specific population may be small, anything helps. In addition to engaging in physical activity, pregnant individuals during the COVID-19 pandemic may look to additional support mechanisms to help cope during this uncertain time in order to see a greater effect. I would like to take this opportunity to extend a huge thank you to Dr. Catherine LaBelle and Dr. Carly McMorris, as well as the whole pregnancy during the pandemic team for their support throughout the summer. Thank you.